George. I signed up. George.
Mr. Mayor, it's 7 o'clock.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the September 19th meeting of the Irmo Town Council. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation is led by Dr. Waldman. Flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Evening, as we try to do our best to do what is best for our citizens in the town of Irmo. Also, please keep our first responders, our citizens, our employees, everyone in the area safe. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I'd like to begin with reading of the minutes from August 15th, 2023. We received those minutes electronically, and I believe we went over them. Is there a motion for acceptance of minutes from 2023?
So move.
Is there a second? Okay. Any changes to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We also received the minutes from the September 5th workshop, 2023. Is there a motion for acceptance of those?
So move.
And is there a second?
Second.
And are there any changes for those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of those minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none. In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. Administrative briefing. Mr. Courtney, do you have any changes for the council in your administrative briefing?
I was just going to let y'all know that we did talk to Stewart, the company Stewart that's doing our comp plan, and they will have a booth at the Okra Strut to start the community engagement. So some of our staff and some of their staff will be there a few hours each day to start on that community engagement piece.
And do we have any changes for Mr. Dennis? Anybody? Seeing none. New in-town businesses. Mr. Sickinger, do we have any new in-town businesses in Irmo?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. Hurricane Car Wash, Bart's Crazy Good Coffee Shop of Irmo, Bronzed Bombshell Beauty Bar, Essentially You Aesthetics, Foxology Beauty Bar, and, Tinseaborg is what I want to say.
Tincy Board?
Yeah,
They do.
Tinseaborg? One of
What do
those
they
two.
do?
I don't know. I'll visit them and tell you next time.
All right. Consideration communications. Will y'all join me down front? Is anybody here from Castle Brothers Heating and Air? Hey, every month, come on up in the middle here. Every month we recognize a business in the town of Irmo for the great work that they do in the town and of course the great taxes you pay. We also agree like that. But we're recognizing Castle Brothers Heating and Air, and I believe you are, what's your name?
Jamie Evans, the general manager.
Jamie Evans. Get a microphone for him, please. Jamie, we are excited to recognize you as the Business of the Month, and let me just read it to you. Castle Brothers Home Services, in recognizing you being the Small Business of the Month for the town of Irmo for the month of September 2023. Congratulations on that. Jamie, you want to tell us a little bit about Castle Brothers and what y'all do?
Yes, so we do heating and air, plumbing, and generators in the Midlands. We just started our plumbing division. I don't think a lot of people know that we do that, so it's very important to get that out there. We're heavily involved in the community. We do several parades. We're Ochre Strut, involved with the schools heavily. We have an apprenticeship program that we've started as well. So really trying to get out in the community and some more community involvement and be the premier heating and air, plumbing, and generator provider.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, and again, congratulations, Castle Brothers. Got a good picture? You're welcome. Thank you. Let's come on. Technical, is yours working? Okay. Was unplugged? I got a, continuing on receipt of communications. As you know, the state of South Carolina has passed early voting, given us early voting in South Carolina. But what they didn't do is they didn't fund that. They give you early voting in South Carolina, meaning that you'll have satellite voting sites within the county. We have early voting if you want to drive to Lexington, downtown Lexington, but if, like us out here in Irmo and Chapin, that's a little bit of a hike. So I inquired as to why we didn't have early voting sites out here in our district and over, across the dam. They said that it was too expensive for them to do it. It was about $60,000 for them to set up an early voting site. And we would have to bear the cost of that. And not only we would bear the cost, but it would be spread amongst all of the towns in Lexington County. Now, as the president of the Lexington County Municipal Association, I immediately asked, well, that's not cool for us to have to spend a portion of, $60,000 divided amongst, 14 municipalities, which, be approximately $6,000, $7,000. But the little small towns would have to bear that cost either, and that's just unreasonable for a town of 300, 400 people to have to spend that much for early voting. And they won't have it in their actual town. They'd have to come to Irmo or West Columbia or whatever satellite location that they picked. That being the case, I still think I just don't understand why we can have it for the presidential election, for the statewide election, as for the House of Representatives, state senators and stuff like that. But when it comes down to our local elections, we couldn't have early voting in our local municipality. This doesn't make sense to me, even though it's allowed. So one of the things that I want us to consider in the future, we allow Lexington County to do our voting. We thought it was a bright thing to do, what, years ago or whatever, when we decided to turn over all of our voting over to Lexington County. But at one time, when I first got elected in 2004, we had our own election commission here. We had our own ballots. We counted the ballots one by one. We came in this room after the voting, and it was something we could do to save us money because, again, Lexington County takes a chunk of money from us to run our elections. But this is a disservice, I think, to us. And I'm just letting you guys know, the public know, that we do have early voting in South Carolina. We do have early voting in our district, but not when it comes to our local municipal elections. If the town wants to spend a huge amount of money to allow us to vote in those 10 days over this side of the bridge, over this side of the dam, we would have to do that at our own expense, unless we want to take people over across the dam, downtown Lexington traffic, and attempt to early vote those 10 days. So that's my report on early voting. I just want everybody to know about that. We're going to have a meeting on Monday the 25th to discuss this with the Election Commission in person. And I'm going to express my, displeasure basically in not allowing us to have that ability to offer that to the citizens of Irmo in the town of Irmo. School showcase, Dr. Wallman, do we
Mr.
have
Mayor?
any?
Could I just
Oh, go ahead,
piggyback
I'm
on what
sorry.
you said? I just want a point of clarification, just so that it's clear that the residents of the town of Irmo can vote early during the early voting window. But in order to do that in person, you would need to either go to the Lexington Election Commission, or if you're in Richland County, you need to go to the Richland County Election Commission. So you do have that option. It's just not as convenient as what Mayor Walker was talking about, having a polling place in our town.
Especially for our election, our town election. You're
Right.
absolutely right. Okay. Anybody else want to chime in? Okay. Dr. Wallman, you want to tell us about the school showcase?
Yes, tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Karen Hampton, the principal of Irmo High School International School for the Arts.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. Mayor Walker, council members, community members. Got a little bit of time to talk about Irmo High School. We are a comprehensive high school with lots of things going on. Currently, we serve 1,200, and as of tomorrow, 72 students. Our enrollment has increased since the return from COVID, where we had those couple of years where there were odd school years. So we're looking forward to that enrollment continuing. Currently, our school represents 19 different languages from 16 different countries. We are proud to say that our student body is absolutely diverse, and we enjoy that each and every day. Our teaching staff, we have 90-plus teachers. We call our staff staffalty. We're not just a faculty, but we're a staff and faculty. And we have about another 40-plus support staff members who every day they are future-focused and believing in our students just as we do. We say that in ourselves our future lies every single day. Amongst our student population, we have future welders, doctors, teachers, auto technicians, drone technicians. At lunch today, I got invited to a impromptu soccer game while one of the other students was flying her drone to record the soccer game. So we have all sorts of things going on at Irmo High School. I heard in the next few months, in the first quarter of 2024, we will be breaking ground on our new wing. So it is a replacement wing of our East Wing, and hopefully that will take around 18 to 24 months. We're looking to occupy the beginning of the 2025-2026 school year. So that way we can have some more space in this building. We'll have all of our English, math, science, social studies courses, some of our CTE programs. So we're really excited about this new wing. So as you're driving by 6671 St. Andrews Road, wave at us as our landscape begins to change. Every day, we focus on a vision. Dr. Ross, our superintendent, has our district vision. But this year I started with a school vision and our number one job is for all of our students to graduate with a diploma and/or a credential and have a post-secondary plan. If you've watched any of our school board meetings or had any conversation in probably the past decade or so, we've been talking about the profile of a South Carolina graduate. This came out, and I wish I could see the year on that. But we have modeled a lot of what we do at Irmo High School and in School District 5 around this particular concept of every student graduating college and/or career ready. It is a graduation focus on our school report card. So we heavily focus on this. But every day, you'll hear me say, and I'm pretty sure all of our students can repeat it at this point, there's 4 things that I expect of them. I expect to show up, got to come to school, attendance matters. Be ready, we need to be prepared. Have a plan to graduate on time, and to follow all the school rules. Once we get that covered, we get into some of our academics. For those of you that may not know, we are a whole school magnet. That means we have a magnet for all of our students. We are an international arts magnet with academic magnet programs. So these are a few of our programs that I'll talk just briefly about. We have our international baccalaureate programs. We've added the career-related program about 2 years ago now. And now we also have a program that connects to Harbison West Elementary, Irmo Middle, and now us, called Escalores. So Harbison West is Escalores, Irmo Middle is I Am Escalores, and now Irmo High School is This Is Escalores. We're in our 2nd year into that program. Additionally, we also partner with Midlands Technical College, and we offer dual enrollment courses. So our students can complete an associate's degree. It's a general education associate's degree. They can also complete a certificate that's roughly about 36 credit hours. And then we also offer a la carte dual enrollment courses where students can take their Midlands Tech course on campus. In the next few months, we're going to be partnering with the Harbison campus for the summer to be able to offer some of our courses there in the summer, just give kids more of an opportunity to get into those courses. So to dig into our IB program has been around for a really long time. My very first year teaching at Irmo High School, I'm going to go ahead and tell my age for a second. My first year teaching in 2002 was our exploratory year, and I believe our program kicked off the next year in 2003. So we're 20 years into IB. Our IB program has gone back and forth with our enrollment, but we've had some increases in enrollment, particularly in the diploma, and then the next one in career. So our diploma program really focuses on internationalism and global mindedness, where students are thinking about their thinking. There's metacognition. It is a fairly robust program with several core courses that students have to take. One of the core courses is creativity, activity, and service, where it's not just about the curriculum. It is about what can our students provide to the world, what service do they have within themselves to increase their awareness, not only in these United States of America, but globally. And then for our career-related program, here's some pictures of some of the kids. They have lots of fun in that class. For our career-related program, it's fairly new, but we partner with the district's CATE Center, our Center for Career and Advanced Technical Studies, where students can partner with the veterinarian science. We have some students who are in the biomedical program who get an opportunity to participate in IB. This one is more of a unique approach where there's some hands-on and individualized curriculum. So let's say a student may be enrolled in ROTC. Currently, we have Air Force ROTC. It may not be defined, but then we create that as a part of the IB career-related program. In order to get to IB, we go to our very first program. Oh, go ahead, one more. There we go. First program is a connection throughout the district. So those students come to us in 9th grade. We sort of poach them in the 8th grade to say, hey, are you interested in being in the Escalores program? Our goal is for this program to run in the 9th and 10th grade, where students get an opportunity to sort of get their feet wet in some rigorous curriculum. They take an AP course. in the 9th grade, and then we move up with additional honors and AP courses in the 10th grade. Our goal is that at the end of the 10th grade, those students then venture into either the IB diploma and/or the IB career-related program. And our whole school magnet, with some of you, I'm pretty sure I saw some faces this spring for our spring musical. We did the Addams Family. Got a picture there for you. Our arts programs are throughout the building. Any student can take them. We have a really large theater program. It is busting at the seams. There are students everywhere, every block. In addition to our dance, vocal music, and visual arts programs. So just some examples there of what our students get to do. Don't let the power tools fool you. We have trained them. They know how to use them appropriately. We have the safety class first. And then some things for you to look forward to. So we have our fall play, Puffs, in November. And then this one seems to be super popular. The kids had to talk me into The Little Mermaid in the spring. So our spring musical will be The Little Mermaid. So if you would take notes of those dates and find an opportunity to support us if you could. A couple other things that we're going to be kicking off this semester and then moving into the winter. We are developing an alumni association. Surprise, surprise, Irmo High School does not have an alumni association. Who knew? So we are going to start sending that information out. So if you yourself are an Irmo alum, like I am, or any of your children, grandchildren, neighbors, cousins, friends, please point them to our Facebook page, and we'll be sending that out, putting information. We'll send something to the Irmo News. If Dr. Wallman can help me send some things out, I'm getting people to the Irmo High School Alumni Association. It's time that we have one. And then we'll also be running a Giving Tuesday campaign to support some of our efforts in the classroom and projects for students this November. Next slide. A couple other things while I'm standing here. We're trying something new. We have our Mike Moore. Not sure if any of you had the pleasure of knowing Coach Moore. Coach Moore is an absolute legend at Irmo High School. He passed away several years ago, so in his honor, his family and Irmo High School were working together for the alumni race, and that is this Saturday. And then next week, I know it's during the orchestra, Mayor Walker, I'm so sorry. We didn't know, we'll plan ahead next time. We're gonna try our first homecoming tailgate. So if you would go to the Irmo Athletics page, all the information is there. So we're hoping to have a really good time at those events. If you are a person that uses social media, we've got some of our social media, where to follow us and where to find us. There are a ton of Irmo High School pages, so please be sure that they're current. We have some folks trying to be imposters from time to time, so we're trying to be sure that our Irmo High School pages are official. So we've got our Irmo Facebook, the athletics, and then the theater company, and then our Instagram. If I have 30 more seconds, quick shameless plug for some things going on. Back in, was that in April or March, Mayor Walker, we had the basketball team come? Yes, okay, so we had the basketball team come, and the Irmo Town Council was so gracious to provide them with some awards for winning the state championship. So not to claim it, but we're going to knock on wood. Our football team is looking really, really good. We are 0-4. We're the only ones in the district who could.
4-0.
4-0. What did I just say? That wasn't good. Yeah. 4-0. We're the only ones who can say that right now. No shade to anybody else. That's right. So if you have an opportunity to come out to some of the football games, please join us this Friday as our cluster night. All Irmo Cluster Elementary School students are welcome for free to come in and participate in the game. If you are a voting person, we've got some things out now. The state newspaper has Jaden Allen Hendricks. He's an amazing senior. He's running back for us this year, doing a fabulous job. He is up for the Midlands Player of the Week. Week 3, Aaron Brand Jr. won, so we're trying to have multiple Irmo football players win the Midlands Football Player of the Week. And then Coach Brand is up for South Carolina Coach of the Week, and that's sponsored through Sports Illustrated. We've been voting, so we have several thousand votes in, but a few hundred more would help. So those things are there, and if you want to search them, they'll pop right up. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I'll stand for any questions.
And thank you, Doctor, for letting us know what's happening at Irma High School. It's exciting and dynamic. And if you see that lady back there in a red sweater back there, she'll be glad to take that information for us Friday from you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you all so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the offer.
Okay. Thank you. Is that it?
We have quite a few community connections tonight. Wait for this slide to come up. The first one is the South Carolina Works Midlands Annual Career Fair. This is a career fair that's going to be held tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Dutch Square Center. It looks like there's a lot of different opportunities. If you're looking for a job or to change jobs, this might be a good opportunity for you to check out what's available at this career fair. On Saturday, September 23rd, there will be a free paper shredding event at the Rawls Creek Park. This is at 1113 Friars Gate Boulevard. This is being sponsored by Upsilon Omega Omega chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. There's also on Saturday from 10 to 1 p.m., Dogs for Donations food drive. This is Sharing God's Love Crisis Ministry sponsoring this. It's a drive-through event. Bring a bag of canned goods and non-perishable food items, and you can get a hot dog with chips and a drink. The Irmo Ochre Strut, as you all know, is going to be on Friday, September 29th and Saturday, September 30th in the Community Park of Irmo. They're still looking for volunteers to help. That's a big event, and it needs a lot of manpower to help out. So if you are interested in volunteering on either of those days for any length of time, an hour or two or all day, please go to theochrestrut.com, go to their webpage, and there's a way that you can sign up to be a volunteer. And a little earlier, we talked about voting. I just wanted to remind everyone that the registration deadline to vote in the November 7th election is October 8th. If you have not registered to vote yet and you live in the town of Irmo, or if you've changed addresses in the town of Irmo, please be sure to make sure your registration is either done or it's up to date. The District 5 Foundation for Educational Excellence is sponsoring their fall fundraiser. This is where they will raise funds. They're trying to raise $75,000 to be able to support teachers and students and feed children on the weekends through the snack pack programs. They support teacher grants and they support student ideas, research ideas with these funds. They're looking for sponsors to support this campaign. They're also going to hold an online auction. So right now, they're looking for auction items to be donated, and they'd like to get those by October 15th. And then on October 30th, still with the District 5 Foundation, on October 30th, they are sponsoring a district and community-wide Spirit Day. On that day, they're encouraging everyone to wear a T-shirt of school colors or a District 5 Foundation T-shirt, which is shown in this slide. There's the 4 different colors representing the 4 different high schools. Those T-shirts are available. Again, this is part of the fundraiser, selling these T-shirts, and they are available on the District 5 Foundation's website, which is district5foundation.org. The Events Committee is going to be sponsoring a trunk or treat on October 31st, and the time is from 6 to 8 p.m. Right now, they're looking for volunteers and sponsors and donors and vendors for this event. So if you're interested in participating in that way, please contact Jen Rayburn. Her contact information is at the bottom of this slide. I also wanted to announce the Irmo International Festival. The date is set. Mark your calendars for Sunday, April 28th, 2024, from noon to 5 p.m. That will be in the Irmo Community Park as well. Wanted to remind everybody or let everybody know that the glass recycling dumpster is available for use. It's in the parking lot in between Town Hall and this building. And as you can see, even a shrimp like me can reach up into there and get your glass into the dumpster. So again, if you've got jars, bottles, window pane glass, kitchen glass, drinking glasses, it actually says on the dumpster what it will take. But any kind of glass that you need to recycle, since it is not picked up in our household recycling. And finally, I just wanted to remind everybody about the 9 p.m. routine. Please lock all your doors, all your ground floor doors. Make sure your windows are locked if necessary. Empty your mailbox. Pick up your packages off your front porch. Check your car. Make sure there's nothing in sight that can be, nothing of value in sight that might entice someone to try to enter your vehicle. Lock your vehicle. And just keep things, of value out of sight, even in your house. Don't put something right in front of an open window or an unblocked window. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Wallman. And again, we got a lot of stuff happening in Irmo, and I'm glad that we went over all of that, Dr. Wallman and council. But hey, get involved. Come out to our events. Come out to the District 5 Foundation events, and let's keep Irmo moving forward. I'd like to give an other receipt of communication, an update on the Harbison Garden Town of Irmo safety concerns. Several months ago, we penned a letter to the Harbison Gardens apartment owners and said that we were concerned about the problems that are morphing over from their apartment complex and coming over into Beacon Hill and to our town of Irmo limits. Now, Harbison Gardens is in the city of Columbia, so there's a multilateral process that has to happen. We can't just simply go over there and demand that their apartment complex, adhere to our standards in Irmo. We have to work through the proper channels, and we've been doing that for several years now. I can say that with confidence. Council and myself have met on numerous occasions with the City of Columbia and the Harbison Gardens people, and we've had the task force go out there and meet with them. But it came to the point where we're tired. We're sick of the nonsense that's going on, and it's being morphed over into our community. So we penned a letter from our attorney to their organization and demanded that they address these issues. And starting, I can tell you that the response from their attorney back to us is pretty straightforward. They give you a synopsis of what the letter says, is that starting in January 2023, Harbison Gardens has incorporated an on-site courtesy officer patrolling the grounds at night. Columbia Police Department, Richland County Sheriff has increased all hours and increased all patrols through the complex. And additionally, Harbison Gardens has hired an armed security vendor with various patrol schedules. That's one of the things that they have done to kind of curb the nonsense violence that's been happening. Also, Harbison Gardens has now instituted a code of conduct clause in all their leases, which is something that the District 5 worked on to get them to do. What that means is if they violate the code of conduct in their lease, if they have kids that are running wild or they have kids that are vandalizing cars or anything on their property and they get caught, they are subject to be evicted out of their property. So that's been added to their lease, which is a major milestone. We didn't have that 2 years ago. They have it now. Harbison Gardens also has closed their rear driveway gates, which led to directly to the elementary school. They are going to process of implementing a sticker or a pass policy. In other words, if you are a resident of Harbison Gardens and you park your car on the property, you'll have a parking pass that they can identify that you are a resident of the complex. They've also installed 40 surveillance cameras on the property, 12 of which are monitored live on site, which is the beginning of what we needed to do. We still need to incorporate cameras on the paths, but that's another discussion for the Harbison Association to address. It goes on to mention that the garbage collection and landscaping improvements that we pointed out, will be addressed and improved. Town council will work on this to make sure that the town council, the City of Columbia, Lexington School District 5, Harbison Community Association, area churches will provide a more comprehensive and long-term solution to the problem. Now, it's not fixed, it's not over, but at least we got the parties talking to each other and starting to address it, which I think is a major milestone in the whole scheme of things. I want to congratulate everybody who's reached out to Harbison Gardens, to the City of Columbia, even the council, all of the hard work we've done as a council to get this all forward. And I think it's finally moving forward. I can't tell you any results from this. I'm sure that the chief will have a report to let us know if there's been any reduction in any kind of crime or issues. Also, we have installed those flock cameras in that area, and I believe, Chief, we have some going out into the Friars Gate area too, right? Flock cameras.
That's correct, Mayor. We've got, of the 6 that we initially ordered, there's 4 that have been put up. We're still waiting on the permits for
Okay.
the other 2.
Got it. So this will be a citywide or a town-wide initiative is to get these cameras up. And these cameras are helping, I suspect. If we have any issues, we want to identify cars.
Absolutely. It'll be a tremendous help to the investigators, and it'll be more of a proactive approach as well from an enforcement standpoint.
Right. Got it. Well, that's all I had for receipt of communication. Sorry it took so long, but are there any other receipt of communications from anybody? Seeing none. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
You made that motion? I'll second it. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, well, you want to call a roll, or all in favor of the agenda as approved, as written? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Opinion of the chair, the agenda is approved. Ladies and gentlemen, this is presentation by citizens on agenda items only. This is your opportunity to let us know what you think or you want us to know about our upcoming agenda we're about to talk about. I have 2 people signed up. If you did not sign the initial pad in the beginning, I will call at the end of the people that have signed up. I will give you an opportunity to address the council. Right now, Mr. Greg Studemeyer, if you would come and address the town council, you signed up on the sheet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I just wanted to address item C on approval of resolution 2305 to suspend the land acquisition activities on Mosley Avenue for the proposed downtown district. obviously, I've spoken with each member of council individually and collectively in the past on this issue. And I would ask that you give it further consideration and approve this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. William Bowman?
I too would like to briefly address council regarding Resolution 2305. And if there's any other people in the audience that support that, if you would like to stand, you feel free to stand. Just like many others, as one of the property owners there, we were made to understand that this resolution, that this had been killed, this Main Street project, and why it's still coming up is a concern, and I would like to have an answer. I'd also like to know, since it was killed, what is the alternative plan of the former idea of the Main Street project? Forgive me for rambling, but I try to go from paper here. Just like many other areas that have been had problems because of property acquisition, we feel that the project, it was poorly planned and the property owners were not addressed. And as a result, we oppose the situation. We feel that the people planning, it was talked about a survey and that kind of thing, but the people that were making the plans have no skin in the game. And we've looked at Lexington and the Ice House and Casey and all these places. It's nice for people to come and enjoy stuff, but the people that live there are suffering with traffic and noise and loss of property for millions of dollars. As a result, we just would like some answers regarding why this isn't dead, and what the plan is for the area, the new plan or alternative plan. Can you respond to that?
We're here to hear your comments about what we're about to vote on.
Sir?
Well, when we get down to that, we'll give you more detail.
So you couldn't hear what? You said you couldn't hear?
We're getting communications from you on what you want us to know about our agenda.
Okay.
When we get to 2305, you'll hear that conversation about why it's not dead and how we got to where we are today
Okay, well, and let
at
me...
that time.
Okay. And is there a time, can you give me some clarification on when there's a time when the council will discuss future plans or an alternative plan if that is dead?
We don't know that yet. We're going to discuss this particular issue right now.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody else to address council on anything on our agenda? Go ahead, come on up. Give us your name and your address, please, and not that I don't know your address.
My name is Marion Boyd Sr. I live at 101 Lake Murray Boulevard. And we've discussed this issue before. And we thought it was a dead issue. You had abandoned the project. Y'all went in the council meeting. When you came out, you didn't give us any indication of what you had agreed upon. Now it's coming back up again. Why did you want to dislocate people in Irmo that has been there for a lifetime? Where they gonna go that's gonna cost them more money to live presently where they don't have that expense now? What are y'all trying to do? You sit up there and talk about you want this, you approve this plan. We ain't gonna stand for that. I'm here to tell you, I'm a resident of Irmo. I can't vote on y'all stuff, but I'm gonna tell y'all one thing. Y'all not gonna take these people's property. Their people have been here all their lives. Why would you like somebody to come take your property? How would you like somebody to take your property? To come over your neighborhood and tell you what you're gonna do with their property. These people are old, senior citizens. How would you uproot them from a place they have been all their lives? How many of y'all in here got guts enough to know you just can't run around a community and take people's property without official resolutions, asking them whether or not they want to sell? And then the majority of them don't want to sell. Where they gonna go? An expensive place where they can't afford? Is that what you want? Poverty? You want poverty? I don't. Why would you want it? These resolutions y'all making, it don't concern black folks. It concern what y'all want to do to tear up a town of Irmo for a main street. Who want a main street in Irmo if you got Woodrow Street and Lake Murray Boulevard in Irmo? They come right through the town. What? Now, I'm not going to stand for it. And you're going to hear me because I do not like what you're doing, trying to do to black folks. It's the only thing, only people live over there is black folks, isn't it? Y'all don't consider that. Me, you consider that former mayor, you consider that? You consider that? You consider that, dog? I consider that. That's home for these people. Give them a break. They're old just like me. I'm 75 years old. Where are we gonna go? I'm not included in it. But not come now for the Lake Murray Boulevard, because you don't get that. People taught here in Irmo, raised all our kids, Harbison Institute, now Midland Tech. Dutch Fork Elementary, used to be Rich Lex High School, now Dutch Fork Elementary. Y'all name them because that's what y'all want to do. You're trying to change everything to be what y'all want it to be. What the black folks? We still live here. We still own property. We are valuable citizens. We go to church. We serve God just like y'all do. Why y'all do this? You have a conscience? I have one. I don't want to hurt nobody, but I don't want to be hurt. And I don't want mine to be hurt, black or white, to be hurt by y'all resolution and by y'all ordinance to change things. Look at who you're changing it for.
Very much, Mr. Boyd. I appreciate your comments. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Come on up. Give us your name and address, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Phyllis Coleman. So there's no confusion, I live at 7336 Mower Street, Irmo, South Carolina. I'm coming to address the Council about Resolution 23-05. I've been here supporting my Irmo community family through this challenging time with the proposed acquisition of the Mosley Avenue property. What troubles me about even seeing this resolution is, for a fact, outside of the building here, we were told when you took the cash off the table or whatever the funding was, we were led to believe that this was a dead and done deal. To find out that there's still a loophole resolution that would allow maybe this to be revisited, for me, as a person, kind of reeks of subterfuge and, hey, let's call it what it is, a little bit of trickery. The citizens are speaking, they want it gone, and I hope this town of Irmo can respect these lifelong citizens to respect that they don't want any kind of development where they live. Thank you.
Is there anybody else would like to speak? Anybody else would like to speak to council on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on. Unfinished business. A, this is second and final reading of this code with the standards of placement of small wireless facilities. I'd like to first ask, is there a subject matter expert here? Is there a subject matter expert here?
Yes, Mayor Walker. Dr. Sanjib Sur is here. He has
Great.
9 years of research experience with wireless signals and systems, especially 5G and millimeter wave systems.
Okay, well, is there a motion for a second and final reading?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. Eric?
If it's okay with you, Mayor, I mean, I'm no expert, certainly in small wireless facilities, and I know that there were some questions that you had raised. You know, I'd like to yield to the expert to maybe give us
Subject matter expert.
some
yeah.
background
Thank
and
you.
answer questions, if that's okay.
All right. Is that all right with you, Doctor? Okay. Doc, would you come up to the podium, please? Thank you very much for coming tonight. We appreciate you attending our meeting. There was some back and forth at the last meeting about the impact of 5G. I guess they're called boxes or repeaters or whatever it is. I'm not sure the technical term for them, but as a layman, I knew that the 5G boxes were a problem for the airlines. And I don't know what the exact problem was, but I know that they held it up from being implemented close to airlines. They did that for a reason. They did that because the signals coming from those boxes interfered with the communication. Now, what we're proposing to do is allow them to put these 5G boxes throughout our town in certain areas. And what I didn't want to have happen is that these get proliferated on every telephone pole up and down Lake Murray Boulevard, St. Andrews Road, throughout our communities. And we don't know the implications of the rays or the fields that it produces. I know that some people with the new iPhone, 29, that they got out now, that some countries have banned that because of the radiation it's putting out. And so if that happens with an iPhone, I'm sure there's some things that I don't understand that I'd like to understand before we allow people to just put these boxes out. So that's why we asked you to come tonight. If you can give us a little background on that, I appreciate it.
So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Dr. Waldman, for the invitation, and good evening, council members. So just to give you a brief background, 5G standard uses a different kind of frequency bands, lower frequency, mid frequency, and high frequency band. And frequency bands are something like, think about lanes in your highway. Traffic in one lane is not going to affect traffic in the other lanes, right? So most of the news articles you have probably read, or most of the news you have seen in social media, have concern about high frequency bands, the radiation that goes into that high frequency band. So I had a chance to look into the technical specification Mr. Poland shared with me about that Verizon device. And it turns out that that particular device is not using the high frequency bands. They're using something called mid-frequency band, specifically around 3.7 gigahertz frequency. Now, just to give you a context, your home or office wireless routers, the routers that you use to connect Wi-Fi, already uses higher frequency than this 3.7 gigahertz frequency band from the Verizon device. So in terms of frequency usage, it's pretty safe. On top of that, each frequency band is allowed to transmit at a maximum transmission power. So think transmission power as sort of like a glow in the light bulb, right? We'd like to have a higher glow, but at certain point, after a certain point, you may feel uncomfortable. So FCC, Federal Communication Commission, came up with an idea that each frequency band would have a certain cap that they cannot transmit beyond that power. And I did some calculation on the Verizon device, and it turns out that the device is using 50 times lower transmission power than what is allowed by FCC on that frequency spectrum. So considering those two factors, in my opinion, it feels safe. Now, I think there were some discussion about interference also with other devices or equipment in the vicinity. So apart from lower transmission power and the different frequency band, they also use, all radio device use something called listen before talk policy. So in terms of that, they are kind of like super polite human. You listen before talking. So if they hear someone is already communicating on their specific frequency band, they're not going to broadcast any information. They're going to back off before they start transmission. They want to make sure that frequency, the channel, is clear before they transmit. So 3 things that protects this Verizon device, other device will be protected by this device is lower transmission power, different frequency band, and this listen before talk policy. So all these things combined, I felt this proposed device is pretty safe.
Any questions? Dr. Wallman, Eric, Bill? I just have one comment, and again, I appreciate your explaining that to me. From 4G to 5G.
Yes.
4G was supposed to be the greatest thing, gosh, 4 years ago when I got my new phone. And now we're morphing to 5G, everything's 5G. What's the difference between the 4G and the 5G that makes it so much better and it doesn't increase any frequency problems?
So the key difference between 4G and 5G is the speed that they can achieve. At the cost, they can achieve the speed.
Okay.
So because they plan to use different kinds of frequency band, they can deliver more data to your device at a lower cost, lower transmission power.
Got it.
That's the key benefit from 4G.
Okay. Any questions, anybody? I'm satisfied.
I just want to say it's awesome to have like, we didn't just Google this, we have, this is like, to have this level of an expert. Thank you, Dr. Barb, for inviting, and thank you for being here, because I took some notes. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it very much for you coming and explaining that to me.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Moving on, is there any other conversation, any discussion on the second final reading of ordinance 2320? Seeing none, will the clerk read the roll?
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes?
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. Second and final reading of ordinance 2321, and this is to amend the technical codes. This will update the town code stipulating the town will utilize a version of building codes that are in line with the Department of Labor licensing regulations. And that the second and final reading, is there a motion for second and final reading? Is there a motion for second and final reading?
So moved.
See, Mr. Sickinger? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been properly moved in second. Eric, do you have any comments on second and final reading?
No, I don't. You already provided the condensed version, which is updating our codes to LLR, Building Codes Council, so pretty much says it all.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah, I agree. This is standard. On the technical side, our building codes are up to snuff, and nothing outrageous here.
Okay. Dr. Wallman?
I agree, this is just an update. It's, there's nothing to contest in here.
Okay. Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes?
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Walker.
Yes. Moving on to new business, item A, first reading of ordinance 2322, zoning and appearance. Is there a motion for first reading?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Wallman? Okay. Eric? The discussion, Eric?
Yeah, normally I would just say, it says what it says. It's a update to buffering, screening, landscaping. But I think one of the things that is really important about this is attention to detail, and Assistant Town Administrator Doug going through this with a fine-tooth comb. And I think the thing that stands out, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it was language like it was like should have bushes as a buffer. And that's really not, it's either you shall, right, you must, or why even have the suggestion in there in the first place? So it's really a lot of the stuff that I think we don't think about and people don't think about, but things like tree protection and buffering, it is something that comes up when you think about a new housing development that's going in, or a new car wash or what have you, so that there is that buffer there. And it's prescriptive, and it's really clear about what our expectations are, which means our residents know what to expect to. Did I get that right, by the way, in terms of
Dr. Wallman?
Yes, I appreciate all the work that Mr. Poland put into this, and the Planning Commission for going through this document. There's a lot of detail there, and I think it's a good thing to have that level of detail, because it makes it clear what needs to be done in different circumstances, whether it's trees or parking or whatever. So thank you very much.
Bill?
Yeah, there is a lot of detail in this, and one of the things that's impressive is the replacement of trees, the caliper sizes. We've boosted the exterior buffering as well as the interior landscape requirements. Since something we've been trying to do. We started about a year or so ago with the varietals that would grow here, and what needs to be planted and what doesn't need to be planted. So this just goes hand in hand with that. So that's good work. It's detailed.
And I agree. Thank you, Mr. Poland, for updating that for us. And we have a very, we are Tree City USA, and we will continue to be excited about some of the landscaping and vegetation we have recommended. Will the clerk, any more comments? Will the clerk read a roll?
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Walker.
Yes. First reading of ordinance 2323. This is again updating our sign ordinances, and I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at it in detail, but there are some signage allowing electronic messaging centers on commercial sign. We had addressed this years ago with the previous council about the electronic billboards coming, and this is when it was brand new technology coming to the town. I looked at it and don't really see too many major differences, but we had some changes made to it. So is it first reading?
I'll move.
Eric, I'll make a second. Go ahead, Eric.
So I remember getting a version of this at some point, but what I don't see in my packet is specifically ordinance 2023. And I'm not sure, maybe my fellow council members can assist, because I remember reading through it on a first and second pass, but then, of course, sitting up here, I don't see it in my packet.
Copy of that down there, by any chance? 2323.
And my fellow council members know what page it is in our very long packet.
Yes.
Normally, this wouldn't be an issue, but because of all the buffering thing that was like 30 pages, it gets lost in it. Okay, then I'll yield.
Some of the language about side signage and stuff like that was concerning to me, but do you have a copy of that? Is that a copy that's down there, a written printed
Mayor.
copy?
What, we could, if it's acceptable for the council, since it's not in our packet, and to avoid any confusion, we could always just defer.
Does anybody, you got a copy? All right, do you guys have a copy down there you can send up here? Here.
Yeah, that's the short form. And just for the public's
Yeah.
sake, I mean, how many, what is this? 96 pages in our packet this
Yeah.
month, so it's very easy for a short form. There it is.
There it is.
So, yeah, I don't mean to overstep this, my second here, but I'll make a motion that we defer to the next council meeting.
I'll
for this
second that.
item.
Okay, it's a motion to defer this approval on council meeting on the 17th. So, yeah, October 17th. Is there discussion on the deferral? Seeing none. Clerk, read the roll on the deferral for the item B, first reading ordinance 2323.
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes, thank you all. Sorry about that. Courtney? No, that's mine. Yeah. I just, this is some detail in there that I like to go over. Maybe we can do that, outside, the meeting and stuff. Okay? All right. We're down to ordinance 2305, and this, a lot of questions were asked about this. This ordinance will repeal the original ordinance that we put in motion to do the Mosley Street project. And you asked questions, why is this back on the agenda? We funded this project.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
And-
I don't mean to interrupt you, but point of order.
What's your point of order?
Why don't we just take the next item on the agenda is 2305, and let's see if it gets a first and second, and then you can.
Well,
You can talk
I
about it.
haven't made the motion yet to make the motion.
Right, but.
Okay,
I mean,
so I'm going to make a motion, ask for a motion, but I haven't done it yet. So can I finish what I was saying? Explaining to the folks what's happening?
The Roberts Rules of Order say that the next item on the agenda is
Well,
2305.
I haven't called for the next item on the agenda yet. I will do it when I'm done.
Right, but, okay, so point of order.
So-
The right thing to do here is to just introduce the next item on the agenda without a narrative. And then if, assuming that it passes, then you can provide a narrative. So my point of order is
Well, I'm
that
not writing a
can't be
narrative.
provided.
Mr. Sickinger, I'm not writing a narrative. I'm simply saying that with
I
this,
appeal the decision of the chair. The decision of the chair is that he's allowed to provide a narrative before introducing the next agenda item. And if it requires a second,
Second.
so you don't want me to explain to the people what's happening? Okay.
that's not, a point of order,
So
Mr.
it's been-
Mayor.
It's been properly moved and second, and there's discussion on that. Okay? Is there a discussion on this move, the motion that you just made?
There is no discussion on a appeal of the chair on a procedural item.
You just got a second, didn't you?
There is no discussion on appeal of the chair for a procedural item.
I didn't make I didn't make an appeal. I didn't make a motion. I didn't rule anything, Eric. I'm just simply trying to introduce a motion, and you let me talk. You stopped me from doing it.
Mayor, because we all
So
have to
can
play
we-
by the
can
same
we have that?
rules. And the order on the floor is an appeal of the decision of the chair that he is allowed.
I didn't make a decision yet, Eric. I haven't made a decision.
That he is allowed to provide a narrative before introducing a agenda item, and my appeal is that he is not allowed to do that.
Okay, but I'm not making a narrative. I'm trying to introduce, ask for a first and a second. And I'm doing that in the order, in the way that I feel like I needed to do it.
The
Now, if
item
you
on
don't
the-
want me to do that, that's fine, to say that
This
I
is
don't
not a
want you to do that.
debatable, this is not a debatable motion. It's been first and second. A yes agrees with the ruling of the chair. A no does not agree with the ruling of the chair.
Okay. And take a vote on that? Is that what it is? Okay. So will the clerk read a roll on the motion that he doesn't want me to explain to the people what's happening?
Mr. Danielson, Mr. Sickinger,
No.
Dr. Waldman,
No.
Mayor Walker.
Yes. Motion to not allow me to explain to the people what's going on has been overruled by Mr. Sickinger, Dr. Waldman, and Mr. Danielson. So I'm going to ask for a motion. Is there a motion for approval of 2305?
So moved?
And is there a second? I'll second it. So now it's been properly moved and second. Eric, do you have a comment since you made the motion?
Yeah, I'm happy to, I understand that we had some disagreement there, but I'm happy to yield for you to talk first because I know that I procedurally wanted to make sure that this was done correctly.
Well,
So-
procedurally, it doesn't, I wasn't making a repeal on the actual, I wasn't talking about the motion that we had on hand. I was just simply explaining what was happening here.
I'm just yielding for you to talk first if you'd like.
Okay. Thank you very much. So basically, there was questions asked about this motion. Why is it back on the agenda again? And the reason why is because we simply took the funding away from this Down Street project, this Mosley Street project. It was about $800,000 we initially had put forth in that, and the $800,000 got reduced to about 700 and change because we bought some land, additional land on Mosley Street. So that left $700,000 sitting out there in Never Never Land, basically, for the Mosley Street project. We defunded the project, took that money and put it back in the general fund, but we failed to remove the ordinance that allowed this to happen in the first place. So that's why it's back on the agenda, is to remove that ordinance or to repeal that ordinance, the original ordinance that allowed us to go forth and to hire a acquisition company, to go to the district, to suspend all acquiring of property on this proposed district. Now, it's not to say that, with a vote of council, they can redo it again, but they have to go through the process of putting another ordinance through first and then put the money back to it secondly. So that's why it's back on the agenda. I think another question you had is people trying to take people's land. That's not the case here. This is not trying to take anybody's land. What this is simply trying to do is to clear up the leftover ordinance that's out there. And I did get a second on it, so we have to vote it up or down by this council. And with that being said, I'll yield back to Mr. Sickinger.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So a couple of things, I think, and I apologize for the residents that felt, why is it coming up again, to your point. No one up here, and I'm sure out there, wants to relive those experiences that we had, and certainly the pain and frustration that many of you felt. I understand that many of you felt that way because you were informed that, incorrectly, that the town was going to use eminent domain. And let me be really clear to you, the town was not going to use eminent domain. That was never in the books. That was never going to happen, and I can tell you why. In 2006, South Carolina passed a constitutional amendment saying that for the purpose of benefit of economic development, you cannot use eminent domain. So even if it was someone wanted to do it, it wasn't going to happen. And I think it's really important that the public understands that. Even though I have said it 100 times probably on social media, I'll say it again up here from the podium. Further, after, I don't remember which meeting, but there was a number of folks outside and several of us, but not all, because we weren't trying to have a quorum, of course, said, we'll never bring it up again. We'll never talk about it again. And that's why I wouldn't have put this on the agenda, because I said, now, to no fault of your own, Mr. Mayor, you were not there. You didn't say that, right? I did. But I said, well, if I have anything to do with it, I'll never talk about it again, which, by the way, is the reason why I never seconded it when it came up before, because I said, we'll never talk about it again. It is dead. You told us that. I believe you. We have no interest in reliving any of that frustration from either side, the miscommunication, the pain and the experience that you went through. Wasn't going to happen. It was dead. It was done. Now, when this came on the agenda, I said, well, what are we really doing here? It's the concern that I have, and I didn't do this, but setting a precedent of revoking resolutions of plans that we wanted to do. Several years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, there was a resolution about a town center, and that didn't happen. But we're not going to go back and revoke it because it was a plan someone had, never went anywhere, so it's gone, it's done. Now, what I did was I said, okay, well, let's look back at the previous resolution that we had to hire a land acquisition firm. When that came up, there was no money that was put into that. There were no actions requested. That's why it was a single resolution, because it was the literal first step that we had taken. And at that point, in the immediate meeting following that, it was very clear that the people who lived there or the people who owned the land there and lived there didn't want it to sell. So that ended the conversation, and unfortunately it took us longer than I would have liked for us to communicate back and forth and without the pain. That just wasn't going to happen. I asked our town administrator, I said, did you engage with them? And I was going to ask you literally, but did you engage with any vendor? Did you make any phone calls? Did you email anybody? Did you sign any contracts because of the resolution when it came up the last time? And the answer was no. So no action was taken to further that resolution. It basically was passed and then immediately died. It's not funded. And so the end result of all this is we have a resolution on the books saying that we wanted to do something. And like a lot of other resolutions, it's just out there. I want to be really clear to you as residents that if we don't pass this, nothing will happen. There will have no impact because there is no force, there is no money, there is no project. It's dead. We've said it, and y'all have said it. I agree. It's dead. And if we do pass it, you know what happens? Nothing, because it's dead. It's not going to happen. We said that. You said that. We defunded it. And look, at the end of the day, I think what's happening here is, it feels like politics, but at the same time, I want to be really clear. There is someone that said to me, if you pass that, and I don't recall who, so I won't try to name them, but they said if you pass it, it'll be, it'll get it off the books. It'll make us feel better. And so I am willing to vote yes on this because or I could vote no, but it would have the same outcome, I guess is my point, is that at the end of the day, either way, it's the same outcome. The project is dead. There is no downtown project. And I'm sorry, we can't take questions. We can't take questions at this time. Mr. Stewart, I'm sorry, but this is not, and I think you know that, and I know that you're very passionate about this, and I'm willing to talk with you afterwards about this. So just to be really clear, there was a proposal made. We talked about it. The residents said, we don't want to sell. Someone told them the town was going to take their land. We said, no, we are not. I just showed you the South Carolina State Constitution Amendment that says we can't do it anyway. So it was dead when you said you didn't want, for the folks that own the land, that you didn't want to sell. And so I'm happy to vote yes, because hold on, no, hold on, don't clap yet, especially yet, because you might disagree with the next thing I say, and then I don't want you to boo. But just I really want you to understand, it's almost like almost like ceremonial, right? In the sense of it takes it off the books, but at the same sense, it has no more power than leaving it on the books. Because, and let me tell you why. Because it would have to be funded again. There's like a million steps between here and even trying to start that up again. It would all happen in public again. And I guarantee you, y'all would come out and say no again. So it's either way. So that's, I just want to help really understand. We're doing it again. And I apologize for the people that feel like you have to keep coming out. It was dead when you said no. I yield. Sorry that took too long.
Mr. Bill Danielson.
Are you done? Just checking. Yeah, I think you touched on it, Eric. And I'm really kind of concerned with some of the comments that were made tonight. Why is this on the agenda? None of us put this on the agenda. This was put on the agenda by your mayor. I don't know. The mayor will have to answer that. But I heard the word politics, and I can't but help think that's what it is. Nobody's doing anything with this project. This project was dead, and Pastor, I'm looking at you right in the eyeball, and we have had this conversation numerous times. There is no project to vote down. There is no acquisition team waiting in the weeds, and the project's dead. So there's no reason for y'all to be upset, to get upset, because I don't believe. Well, the agenda speaks for itself. The mayor put this on the agenda. My intention isn't to get you upset. I don't believe Dr. Waldman or Councilman Sickinger's intended to upset you homeowners and property owners. This thing has been out of the mind and off the books for months. I mean, it's a non-existent thing. So if it makes anybody happier, then I am happy to vote yes to this. It's not there. So, I'm just sad that you've been upset again. And that's certainly not our intention up here. So I would just make a recommendation that we move on with the vote, put this behind us once and for all, and get on with serving the community in a way that we can serve the community.
Alderman, would you like to comment?
Well, I would just like to reiterate that, number one, I was surprised to see this on the agenda tonight. But number two, this project is dead. It has been, as Bill said, for months. There is no downtown district proposal at this point in time. There's no money. So again, this, in my opinion, this is an unnecessary resolution, but we can vote on it.
Okay, and I'd like to circle around and thank you. This has been called a ceremonial ordinance repeal. It's been said a lot of things. This project is dead, but how to say this any other way, but people aren't stupid. They understand that if something is on the books and it can be resurrected by simply moving the money back over, you don't have to go through all those number of steps that you mentioned that we have to go through to reiterate the ordinance. It's already in place, then that's not a dead ordinance. I don't care what you say. unless you actually voted to repeal it. And this ordinance at 2305 will do just that, suspend it, repeal it, so that if you do want to try to resurrect a downtown project on Mosley Street, you have to go through the process of putting an acquisition team together. You have to get the ordinance passed again, and hopefully people will pay attention. Concerns are aware. But this is not, ordinance. If we don't pass it, the project is still on the books. If we do pass it, the project is not on the books anymore. So that's where I'm at. Anybody else?
Sure.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. Signature.
My mic's just a little quiet. Thank you. So just to, people, I hope people are also paying attention when they see that the council is saying we never, that no one was going to take any land, and it would have been illegal under South Carolina state law to use eminent domain to whole cloth take people's land. Now, of course, that's not how eminent domain works anyway, right? You have to give them something, but still, nevertheless. And second, it's still, look, the reason why I say it's ceremonial and similar to, I want to be really, explain why I said that. Because the town didn't even need to hire a land acquisition expert. We just thought that that would be a proper way to go about it. The town, if tomorrow the town wanted to talk, we're not, it's dead. However, if the town wanted to, if Mayor Walker wanted to walk down Mosley and say, hey, do you want to sell property to the town? He still could, right? The land
Don't put me in there.
Did not mean, just I use you because you're the mayor. But in other words, that's why I'm saying that it's. But what we're trying to say is, we understand that many of you are tired of it coming up, and that's kind of why we're at the point of, okay, if it helps ease the mind to get off the books, great. But it doesn't change what we were going to do, because we were never going to do anything anyway because it was dead and done. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, is that it? Any more comments? Will the clerk read a roll, please?
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. The approval, the resolution is passed. The to suspend land acquisition activities are approved and passed. Approval of Resolution 2306 to submit Hometown Economic Development Grant, $25,000. Is there a motion for approval? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, this is a grant. Remember, I truly like grants, and that's what I have been a cornerstone of the my administration since I became mayor, is to go out and search for grants as much as possible to supplant our budget. We've done that with the police department. We've done that with our proposed new town hall. We've done that with a number of things. And so continually going out and searching for grants is what we are doing in Irmo. So this is another one, a Hometown Economic Development Grant. $25,000 requires a 15% match. And I believe, Courtney, this is for some advertisement that we can do.
No, this is going to be for wayfinding signage.
Wayfinding signage, got it. Okay, thank you. All right, that's all I had. Go ahead.
I'm certainly in favor. I know it's going to cost more than the total grant amount, but it certainly will take a big chunk out of it. And Mr. Poland on submitting this and working on it. What I like about it is the idea around the wayfinding and signs so that it helps cement the identity of you are in Irmo, because nothing annoys me more. Look, I mean, I love people thinking Irmo is bigger than it is, but nothing annoys me more than seeing in the newspaper some nasty thing that happened and in Irmo, and then clicking on the link and seeing it's like Piney Grove and going, that's not the town limits. And I understand there's like this historical greater Irmo, and I appreciate that, kind of like the Ballantine, district of Irmo, if you will. But I like having people know that they're in town, and this can help.
I didn't know there was a Ballantine district of Irmo. Okay. Sorry.
Yes, sir. I wish, do you need a campfire over here? What is going on? I appreciate the comments. I just don't think the signs are gonna, I love the grant. Obviously, we want the grant, but the sidebar to that is we're never gonna convince people where the town limits of Irmo are. They're never gonna know it, and it's just not gonna happen. I mean, it's election season. People think they live in Irmo. They don't. People can't wait to go out and vote. They can't. Oh yeah, I'm over here. Can we get some funds from the town of Irmo? No. Well, wait a minute, I got an Irmo mailing address. So anything we can do to help. I had this conversation just this morning with folks who asked me where the town limits end. I said, you don't have the time or the manpower or a map to tell you that, right? We'd have to have it and detail it. So anything we can do to help that, but especially with 15%. I mean, this is a no-brainer. So I want to thank the staff for finding the grant. Thank you.
Dr. Waldman?
I agree. I support this grant. I think this is a great start. We could use new signage around town and direct people to the parks, the town hall, different locations. And so I think this is a great grant.
Will the clerk read the roll, please? Any more comments? Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Approval to contract with Corley Lawn and Construction, an amount of $150,780 to make improvements to the Irmo Community Park, just in time for the orchestra, right? Maybe not? Okay. I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
This is for some maintenance work we need to do in the community park, restriping roads, carpentry work, some earthwork. Just basically sprucing up the park, and especially after the orchestra, when we go through there, probably need it even more. Fairly decent contract. We've done business with them before, and I think it's a good move. Councilor Signature?
Thank you, Mayor. So it's looking at the bids, and it says that the lowest qualifying bid was with CL, and it looks like for 155 and change. And I'm curious, it looks like there is another significantly lower bid from Parking Lot King for 70,000 and change. And I appreciate it going out to bid, because that means that businesses have an opportunity to bid on it, and it's a public, transparent process on how we buy stuff as a town. And maybe you can help me understand, was Parking Lot King's bid not qualified?
That's correct. They didn't complete some of the paperwork and submit it on time. They had to rework the numbers a few times from what they presented us. So even what they submitted, they couldn't do it for once they understood the scope.
Okay.
They were disqualified.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I understand. I've done submitted a lot of my own RFPs. All right, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay. Bill?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What do we know about CL Construction?
The next lowest bidder. I mean, we did bring them in and speak to them. If you notice that they did knock another 5,000 off the contract, once they saw other comparative bids. We've seen them in town before. They've never worked directly for us. We presented them a contract, that they agreed to sign if you guys pass it.
Have we checked their references? Have we gone back and asked any similar project they've done?
Yeah,
you know,
Doug's called his references.
everything's good.
Dr. Watt?
So, Mr. Dennis, just to be clear, the approval that we're being asked about tonight is for $150,780. But the bottom line total bid on the entire project was $155,780?
Correct.
Okay,
So like I said, his bid was for 155,780. We renegotiated the contract.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more comments? Clerk, read the roll.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. And the next one is approval to award accommodations tax funds. This is funds that were awarded by the A-Tax Committee in different amounts. I'd like to start with, well, is there approval? I'll make the approval first. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. Ask the accommodations committee to divvy up about $60,000 worth of money that we received from accommodations tax from the hotels and night stay residents in Irmo. They came back with numbers, and I don't know if we have a spreadsheet on that, but Lake Murray Country, they awarded $21,549. Irmo Chamber, they awarded $15,000. Irmo Future Growth Corporation, they awarded $10,000. Irmo International, they awarded $10,000. And the Irmo Orchestra, they awarded $10,000. And so those are the amounts that they awarded, but I'd like to amend those amounts a little bit. And I'd like to make this in the form of a motion to amend it. And before I do that, is Mr. Sickinger and Mr. Danielson, are y'all still on the Irmo Future Growth Board? Yes? No? You're not, Mr. Dennis? You're not on the board? I thought we had 2 spots on that board from the town council. Who's on the
We were
Irmo
on
Future?
We were on the board, we are no longer.
Okay, but who's on that board from the town? We had 2, from what I remember on the bylaws, we had 2 dedicated seats on that board. Who's on that board represented from the town?
No one.
No.
No one from the town is represented.
Okay, well, who's on that, Courtney, can you tell me
Sorry,
who's on that board?
Sorry, just to clarify, voting members.
Yeah, Courtney, can you tell me who's on that board of the Irmo Future Growth?
I don't know the answer to that. That board is not a division of the town of Irmo.
Right, but the board members, we had 2 spots that were dedicated to members of the
I
Irmo.
understand that, and we had this conversation some months ago and addressed that with the future growth. From my understanding, they revised their bylaws and took that out of there, that the town council would appoint anybody to their board.
Really? Okay. All right, well, that being the case, then I suggest that I'd like to amend this to, since Irmo Future Growth had $37,000 left over from the $250,000 we gave them, I'd like to amend this awards from the A-Tax funds To Lake Murray Country, $21,549. Irmo Chamber, $15,000. Irmo Future Growth, $0. Irmo International Festival, $10,000. And the Irmo Okra Strut Festival, $20,000. Basically, what I'm doing is taking the $10,000 from Irmo Future Growth and giving it to the Okra Strut Festival, the in-town business. Okay, that's a motion to amend that award. Is there a second? Is there a second to amend that award? Okay. Seeing no second, then my motion to amend it dies for a lack of a second. Okay. But that still leads to growth, Irmo Future Growth. I'm just curious as what happened to the rest of that 37,000 they had left over. I don't know, they're talking about doing flags or something with the 10,000 that they're asking for here, but that's something that Lake Murray Country is already doing. This is a nation of effort. Lake Murray Country has put up flags throughout the town and on Lake Murray Boulevard. So if this is, again, they're asking for another 10,000 and they haven't spent the 37,000 that we already gave them, and we don't know who's on this board. I'd like to find out that information. And so I made that motion. Mr. Signature, you seconded it?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think the proper procedure on that would be to contact people who are in charge of Irmo Future Growth and ask them, including their own application that was discussed in the ATAX committee where they determined where to put these funds. To be clear, this money is a special fund used for tourism expenses. That's what this is for. Last time, and we kind of created pretty much a standard here that we should follow their recommendations, and I don't see any issue with any of these. I'll abide by the ATAX committee. We asked them to serve, and they are volunteering their time to figure out how to divvy this up, and I'll agree with their recommendations.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, I agree. Mr. Sickinger and I used to be on the board. We're purely advisory at this point. No voting power, no presentations. And I think their application speaks for itself. And again, I would like to do what the ATAX committee recommends. Do I completely agree with all of the dollar amounts? We could all move money around. But why did we ask them to serve if we're not going to abide by what their recommendation is? So that's how I feel.
So you guys are on the advisory board of the, huh? Y'all on the
Serve as an
advisory board?
Serve, no, not on the board at all. Serve as an advisory capacity only.
Okay. Dr. Wallman?
Since the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee has discussed these applications, and these are the amounts that they recommended, I think we should follow them. I might have done things a little differently, but, they put their time and effort into evaluating those applications and discussing how to divide that money up.
Okay. Is that it? My only object with this whole thing is that we have $37,000 unaccounted for from the Irmo Future Growth. That needs to be accounted for. I haven't seen anything that they've done with that money. They've had a bunch of proposals that have come through the council, and now we're asking to give another $10,000 for something that's being already done by the Lake Murray Country. That's duplication effort, and I understand it's for putting up flags or something in the town, but again, there's a problem there. I just don't know where that money went, and until I get an account and where it went, I'm not willing to give them another dime until we figure out what happened to the 37,000 that was left over that you guys were on the board for at the time. And if you change the rule, the board makeup, I'd like to see a copy of that new makeup of the board. I'd like to see the written, and Courtney, can you see if you can get a copy of that, please? And give me a copy of that new board makeup. And then I also like to see, and by our rulings, if we give people money, we'd like to see an accounting of where the money went. And I'd like to see an accounting where that 37,000 went before we give them another 10,000. If you want to go ahead and do that without any accountability, that's fine. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
the time to do this is not in a council meeting and try to like spring it on like a trap. That's politics. You know the people who are involved in in Irmo Future Growth. You certainly know you didn't call me. I mean, okay, you didn't call Mr. Danielson. And if you were really genuinely, truly caring about that, then you would have called me or Bill or emailed us, and we would have said, we're not in charge anymore. And you would have said, oh, okay, I'll call Carrie or someone else that has served on that board and find out the answers, not just say, well, I want to know where it is. Okay, well, you know where it is. It's in the bank account for Irmo Future Growth, and you know that they have plans to do wraps around the town, because we've talked about that in multiple council meetings. Beach has come up and presented that to the town multiple times. You had the opportunity to talk with the ATAX committee and see the presentations and see the proposals that were submitted, and to try to create and gin up a controversy that doesn't exist. The money, and frankly, it's subrogating the work that those folks are doing from a volunteer perspective to try to improve the quality of the town, to make things look better. These folks who do that are spending their free time to help improve, to brainstorm, to help improve the beautification, support the businesses, and make the town look good. And, there's no controversy here. If you're calling it flags, and saying it's duplication of effort, the ATAX committee obviously didn't agree. And, there's no there there.
You have any comments?
No, I think you've said it all.
Dr. Wallman? No? Words like trap, subrogation, controversy, those are all great buzzwords to say about town tax money. $37,000 is not a trap, it's not subrogation, it is controversial because it's gone, and we don't know what has happened to it. There's been a lot of proposals that have been thrown out there, but nothing has transpired. I haven't seen any wrappings on any boxes around town, and now you're coming back and asking for another $10,000 to an organization what, quite frankly, is a separate 501c3, and I don't know if they've actually gone out to actually find funding from any other private organization. I don't know that, and I don't really care, but they're coming back to the town and asking us for more citizens' tax money to do this. So if my approach is to let it go to zero, let's wait and then figure out the answers to the questions I have, and then go forward with the project. We have the money in the bank to give them and other funds to do it at another time when those questions are answered. But the accommodations tax money should go to events that bring in people in this area. And as you know, the Okra Strut will bring probably 30, 40,000 people into the town of Irmo in the next few days. And that's what we want to put our money towards. That's what I feel. So,
I'm sorry.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I just say it's not one or the other, and it's not a game. Let me try again. It's not one or the other, and it's not a binary choice of giving more here or less there. I don't think anyone on this council has ever expressed any interest in doing anything less than fully supporting the Okra Strat. So we, again, the time to ask these questions that involve long, detailed answers would not be seconds before a vote. It would be in doing research in advance, when you know it's going to be on the agenda, and then start doing homework on it, like I'm sure that you do. So, that's why I said like a trap, because it's a attempt to create a controversy about Irmo growth. And I understand it's late September. However, again, they made a proposal to the ATAX committee. The ATAX committee made a decision. And if you want answers to questions, the time to ask them is to the folks that are in charge of that agency, and not during a council meeting when the opportunity presented itself days ago.
Well, Mr. Sickinger, I really don't know when you guys came off the board. I mean, it was never brought to me or this council that you have worked yourself or took yourself off the board and put yourself in advisory capacity. And like I said, Courtney's going to get the documentation, who the board members are to me, and he's going to get the board bylaws so I can take a look at your new approved board bylaws, which by the way, you two approved. So if that's the case, that's fine. See any more comments? Will the clerk read a roll, please? On the original proposal of giving Irmo Future Growth 10,000 and all the other amounts that I mentioned.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
No. Moving right along. Approval to contract with Parking Lot Kings to restripe roads not to exceed $15,500. This will restripe portions of College Street, Friars Gate Boulevard, North Royal Tower, Carlisle Street, and Chatford Road. Their motion for approval of the contract. I'll make the motion. Is there a second for approval?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. As we said in the last meeting, there's roads, and it was brought to our attention as a council, there's certain roads that need to be restriped in the town. They're presenting a serious driving hazard to citizens, and especially on College Street, Friars Gate Boulevard, North Royal Tower, and Chatford Road. I have went out and spoken to SCDOT, the county, Lexington County, and Richland County on the ownerships of these roads, and they've gotten back to me and have committed to restriping their portions by 1st, 2023, but we still have the county portions that needed to be restriped. And proposing here is to have Parking Lot Kings take the portion of the roads that are taken by SCDOT, they're not being restriped by SCDOT, and continuing on and have Parking Lot Kings. In the amount of not to exceed $15,500. So that's where we are, Mr. Sickinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if this was another error, but was there I don't see a contract in our packet. Was there a contract?
No, I have no contract.
Okay. So I'm confused. How can we approve a contract that we don't have?
I thought we had the contract that was sent to us in the email. You didn't put that in the packet.
So let me, the other reason I'm confused is because our town ordinance, section 2352, funding parameters, says designated employees in various departments can purchase supplies, materials, equipment, and contractual stuff. And requirements and approval authority is based on the following dollar amounts. Number 6, more than $10,000 requires town council approval A request for bid must be advertised electronically and in a local newspaper of general circulation, and a minimum of 3 written quotes unless on state contract. So I'm confused as to how we have a no contract that we're supposed to be approving for, without a scope, without using general terms like portions of, and we're supposed to be approving striping. You know, that it's really confusing to me why the mayor, I mean, the mayor doesn't have the authority to run an RFP and to get quotes. Were these quotes acquired through a formal procurement process with documentation of the conversations between the vendor and the town?
You want me to answer that, or you want to?
I really appreciate you asking. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we had a conversation with Courtney, and I asked to get bids for the restriping of the particular roads that I mentioned from the last meeting. And Courtney went out and tried to get bids, and the only person that returned a quote was Parking Lot Kings in the amount of $15,000. Okay. Now, as far as the amount of the bids, I don't think the other ones wanted to even make a bid, right? Because of such small scale of the project. These guys are usually striping miles of road. We're talking about feet of road here. And that's the difference between why we couldn't get, bids submitted.
All right, I appreciate that explanation, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So, but here's the challenge, though. So it's illegal to use town funds outside of the funding parameters. It's against our town code. With all due respect, the mayor position does not have the right to get quotes as part of a formal purchasing process.
Wait a minute, did you hear what I just said, though? I mean, Courtney did that. I didn't get quotes. Courtney got the quotes.
You said in the last meeting that you got quotes.
No, I said Courtney was, did you not hear what I just said?
I did.
I said Courtney went out and got quotes. He got 3 people he asked to give quotes. This was the only person that responded. The other quotes didn't even want to respond because of the size of the project.
So
how did the mayor do? The mayor didn't do anything. I turned it over to Courtney to do it.
So the item on the agenda is from the mayor and not staff. If we look at the other RFP, the way that the town is supposed to spend money, it's set up so that it's transparent, it's clear, it's above board. Nobody can accuse you of making some side deal because it's all very clear and it's outside of your hands. It's in the town administrator's hands to run the entire thing. And what I see is different about this approval is it's yours. And there's no documents, there's no paper, there's no quotes, there's not even a quote in our packet. All we have is the mayor wants to stripe not to exceed 15,000. There's not even a scope. There's portions of a road. So
No, it's in there. It's in here.
no, it's not. And we haven't
I'm looking at
received
it
it.
right here.
And so look, I've had people contact me and ask some really serious questions about this. And what I don't want to do is make this a huge controversy and, call huge attention to it, with the exception of in this meeting, I want to say, this is not the way that we buy things. And there's no scope. I don't even know what we're approving. There's nothing here. I'm sorry, I could go on for 6 years because I spent 2 hours having to research what the road striping regulations are from the last council meeting so I could be prepared for what, and I apologize for my P's here, by the way, everybody. So I could be prepared for the council meeting and understand what the rules and regulations are. How you can't touch a road without permission, right? So you have to get encroachment permits and you have to go through all of that. And I understand that we might be able to say, vendor, you do that, but all of that would also be in a contract. So this is, you can't just go out there with a can of paint, right? And we can't spend money as a town without going through the right process.
Okay, so you're saying that, and you're done, Mr. Sickinger? Okay, you're done limiting. So you were aware that the last council meeting, I asked for this to be on the agenda for this council meeting. So it wasn't a mysterious mayor's project. You knew it was going to be on the council, on this council agenda. And you know that the roads that we specifically talked about, so that's the scope, College Street, Friarsgate Boulevard, North Royal Tower, those are the roads we were talking about, because you talked for about an hour about how College Street was a private road, it wasn't a public road. But we've since found out from talking to DOT in Lexington County and Richland County that it is a public road. But again, we're back to the public safety aspect, okay? This is what the citizens have brought to our attention, the county, the council. They've asked for this road to be restriped, at a minimum restriped, so they won't get in wrecks when they go over the hill on Chatford, when they ride down College Street. And Courtney has taken the initiative to go out and look for bids and contracts and stuff, and nobody responded except for Parking Lot King, which I don't know why he didn't put that in the packet, but he didn't. He does have a contract for that to show you. So if you want to wait and have this, if you want to defer this any longer and wait until next council meeting so you can look at the contract and see the scope of the contract, that's fine with me. At least you have an opportunity to look at it. But that process has happened from our administrator. And as far as this being a mayor's approval, I'm the one that asked to put it on the agenda. That's why you see mayor under here. You don't see it for any other nefarious reason. But the fact is that I'm concerned with the citizens that have asked for this to happen, and I'm trying to get it done sooner than later. And so, that being said, anybody else have any comments? Bill?
Yeah, I don't think this is gone somewhere off the rails. First of all, I don't understand what the scope is. Keep talking about a scope, right? I don't even see a linear footage of lines. I don't see how many lines. I don't see the type of paint, the grade of paint, all of those things. And as far as, yes, you did mention this in the last meeting, but my assumption, and I guess was incorrect, was that if it was going to be on this meeting's agenda, that there would be backup documentation and there would be bids.
And we have that. He has that,
No, we
but he
don't.
didn't put it in there.
We have one price for a job that's not scoped. But what I'm curious about is I'm looking at this contract we just did with CL Construction. And they have sidewalks, roads, concrete to be sealed and painted. Their numbers are about $28,000. There's a couple of $1,000s less than Parking Lot King on that project alone. So did we check with CL to see if they could do this in conjunction with the project for the community park? It's a small job. We have to do it by the book. And, you know, that's not to even include whether we have the authority or the owners of the road, we have the permission to do that. So, you know, this is not the way the ordinance are written, and we can't just say we're going to do this for a portion of the road that I don't even know what it is. So if we just start from there, that's a base point, right? Where is the starting point? And I think it needs a lot more work before we can even get to that. And I think we would need sign off by Department of Transportation and or the county to do that. And until we do that, we're not doing it correctly.
From the Department of Transportation, from Lexington County, and from Richland County of the ownership of the roads. Again, that contract that we have that we're talking about is not in the packet, and I don't know why it's not, but we can certainly defer this and put it in the package, but in the packet for you to look at. But the process is there, it has been followed, and the answers to the questions you have is here, and that has been followed also. So Dr. Waldman, do you have any comments?
Yeah, there's just not enough information here to vote on this tonight. I'd like to see the RFP that went out. I'd like to see the contract that, specifies the details of exactly what will be done. And none of us, well, except for Mayor Walker, have seen the, information from SCDOT or Lexington and Richland County, the owners of the roads. So I think there's just a lot of information that we need to see before we can move forward and vote on this.
Okay, but you are aware of the roads we're talking about, right?
I know what roads they are. I have no
Okay.
idea what parts of those roads because some of them are quite long. Friars Gate Boulevard, for example. I don't
Yeah.
know if you're talking the entire road or 10 feet of the road.
Well, obviously not 10 feet, but I got you. So again, we can put that contract in your packet, or you can call a special meeting if you like, between now and then to review this. Whatever you like to do, but Courtney, will you make sure that that gets into the package, get to the council? And with that being said, then I'll make a motion to defer this until the next council meeting. Is there a second to defer it for the safety of the citizen? Lack of a second to defer the road striping for the safety of the citizens. Okay, this dies for a lack of a second. Okay. Any other comments?
Yes.
Moving on. Presentation
Mr.
by.
Mayor. So you talked about how it's for the safety of the citizens, and I feel like that's, we're not getting reports of residents just crashing into each other because the lines are a little hard to see. People know to drive on the right side of the road.
Point of order, Mr. Sickinger, we're not debating this. It's been voted on. It did
No, it
not get a
hasn't.
second. So there's
No.
no other comment necessary. That's what you just said about a future, one of my other comments. So we didn't get a lack of a second. That issue is over. Moving right along
No,
to
Mr. Mayor, you're
presentation by
wrong.
citizens.
Point of order, we didn't vote,
Miss-
Mayor. And I,
We
Mr. Mayor,
didn't
you have-
vote, we didn't vote on, I get a second.
your
So
amendment
that's
didn't get a second.
Correct. No, my motion
Motion to defer.
it did
Yeah,
not get a second.
right.
So
So
that's
the-
over. This,
No, it's still
okay.
on the floor.
Okay.
So it's not about the safety of the citizens. It would be insane to say that anyone up here is
Not
not
about the safety of the
interested
citizens.
in the safety of the citizens. That's the reason why many of us are up here, is because we care. Striping a road that, by the way, portions of the ones that you've called out, and I still don't really know which portions of these roads we're actually talking about, because I drove those roads and took pictures as I drove around. Now, there are portions that definitely do need striping, but we can't pass something that we don't know what it is. And I want to be really clear. In the last meeting, I said that where we talked about this, I said, this has to go to RFP, and you laughed at me and said, no, it doesn't. Our town code says if you spend over $10,000, it goes to RFP. The RFP is, and I don't mean to use terms that folks who don't know that world, a request for proposal. It is a public way to say the town wants to spend a bunch of money, here's what we want to do, and you as the public can respond and say how much it'll cost and how you're going to do it. And then at the end of that, staff will usually pick a lowest and best, make a recommendation, and then we vote on the best vendor as a result of that RFP. This is not an RFP. It's a quote that was procured somehow. That is not the same thing as an RFP. Now, an RFP can fail, and we may not get enough bids, but that's different than not doing an RFP at all. And as a town and as council, we have a responsibility to spend the money carefully, and trying to approve a contract that has a nebulous scope, which means the work that they're going to do, that wasn't procured properly from following the town laws, where we say we have to go to RFP over $10,000, with a contract that we don't have in front of us, with a scope that we don't have in front of us, to one vendor, and then saying that we don't care about town safety. Well, let's just do it right and figure out what that scope is so we can actually go through this process the correct way.
Mr. Sickinger, we did do it right. We did do it right. If you want to call it an RFP, went out through Mrs. Dennis to procure contracts or to get bids on the specific roads and the feats that we actually talked about. He got none but from one vendor, and it came back. Now, you can spin it any way you want to, and that's fine, but the bottom line is I'm asking for to look at it on the next agenda. You don't want to do that, so will the clerk call the roll?
Point of information.
I call for the question. Is there a motion? I make a motion to call for the. Is there a second? Being none, I'll move on.
Information. Courtney, did you publish an RFP in the newspaper and to the town website?
It's not an RFP. It's a request, you're saying a request for proposal. He went out and asked.
I'm not asking you, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
okay.
I'm asking Courtney. Did you, and I apologize because I certainly don't, I mean, you're just trying to run the town, but I want to be really clear about this. Did you publish an RFP that went out in the New Irma News and that went on the website?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, but did you not ask for quotes from other vendors?
Mr. Mayor, that's not what an RFP is.
Yes.
You asked for quotes from several vendors. Thank you. Will the clerk, any more conversation? Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Danielson?
No.
Mr. Sickinger?
No.
Dr. Waldman?
No.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Thank you. Presentation by citizens. If you had a chance to listen to all of this, this is your chance to come up in front of us to tell us your thoughts on this or any other thing that you want to talk to. Start with Ms. Phyllis Coleman. You signed the pad and up and speak to us. Let us know what you think.
Do I have to repeat my address and all that
Yeah,
good stuff?
please.
Phyllis Coleman, 7336 Morris Street, Irmo. I just want to give the council, at least as a citizen sitting out in the audience, what my perception was of the last two items, F and G. When you're asked about $37,000 missing, it's sort of like, forget about that, you need to go ask somebody else, and you're supposed to forget about it. When you're asked about a $15,000 possible expenditure, the money's not really been expended. It seemed like there was a whole bunch of, clucking going on, and I'm just like, why not put the same passion into finding out where the $37,000 is? I would want to know. I have a job where I handle huge budgets, and I'm never allowed to tell my management, just go find out for yourself. I just wanted to give you that observation, sorry.
Mr. Devine, come on up.
First of all, Mr. Sickinger, Mr. Danielson, I appreciate you gentlemen and Ms. Waldman. I appreciate you having the courage to do the right thing. That this should close the door on something that has been difficult for the entire community in the Mosley Avenue area. So again, thank you. Secondly, I heard mention of the Irmo Future Growth Corporation, and that made me very uncomfortable. I was asked to serve on a committee for the Irmo Future Growth Corporation, and I attended, I want to say 2 or 3 meetings in the spring of 2020, and Mr. Dennis, I can provide you with documentation if you need that. This corporation kind of had a rocky beginning. Nobody seemed to know exactly what it was or what it was supposed to do. Mr. Danielson was the chairman. He was elected chairman. And I think Mr. Sickinger, either Mr. Sickinger or Kerry from the Chamber of Commerce was vice chairman. Somehow or another, we stopped having meetings in the summer of 2020 20, and I believe Mr. Danielson was ill for a period of time, and so that's what I was told as to why there were no meetings. The next time I heard anything about this was, I think, after Mr. Danielson recovered and a meeting was scheduled at Loveland Coffee. I couldn't make that meeting. I never heard anything more from anybody about that corporation until this past spring, I received a Freedom of Information Act request from Chris Joseph at WIS TV. I don't know if anybody ever responded to that. I did not. I just want to make it clear, I have nothing to do with that organization and have not had anything to do with that organization in close to 3 years. One of the things that I did see, and I've got some emails and so on, I do know that I have an email indicating that $250,000 was secured from the town and that $176,000 was awarded to deserving businesses in the Irmo area. I don't know who those businesses were. I had nothing to do with that. So I just wanted to make that clear. And again, I've got my records if they're needed to try to figure out who's on that, who's a board member or who has something to do with that organization.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Gabriel Penfield. I live at 127 Pale Ivy Lane. Those that you don't know me. I have a couple of observations. One is I'm very happy to hear the artwork on the traffic boxes, if I'm using the proper language. Will money be allocated to replace those at 8 to 12-month intervals as the sun bakes them, they become discolored? I'm not sure how that will be resolved. I also want to speak to the road striping. The information provided included each street and the number of feet. I remember from 5th grade that there are 5,280 feet in a mile, and there are less than 2 miles there. These trucks that are used cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's more paint in the truck at the end of the job than there is sprayed on the road. So the scale and scope have been provided, an incredibly small scale and scope. The pricing is typically $2 a foot. Pricing was provided around $1.77 or $1.75. We try to get it almost as close to the cost of the materials and the labor as could be done. I also want to speak to the approval for CNL construction for the park. I'd like to apologize to the town and to everybody involved, especially to Parking Lot King. We fumbled the bid. And it's incredibly disheartening to me to find out that when we came in at $92,000, the difference between the accepted bid and ours could be an additional police officer. Incredibly disappointed in that we messed up that quote. I don't think it's up for debate at this point, but we quoted the parking lot basically at cost. All the rest of the materials for the additional items were on addendums that we weren't made aware of. Addendum 2 and Addendum 3, I think. They were on the website, but when we provided the quote, we were made aware there were additional items. I was told this would go back to council, that there were other vendors that may have made the same error. It wasn't until tonight that I realized it was closed. I understand the ship has sailed. I just want to apologize to everybody involved. We let you guys down. We let the town down. Thank you.
Mr. Davis. Yeah. Give us your name and your address, please.
I'm Glenn Davis. I live at 17 Palmetto Wood Parkway, which is just at the end of Woodrow from here. First house on the right, down from the professional center. I used to attend a good many council meetings, and I haven't in the last couple of years, mostly because of health issues and been stuck in Florida for a year and a half. But anyway, I came prepared to talk about or ask some questions about one thing, and then I sort of got off a topic because as I listened to the council meeting, my head just wanted to spin and burst. I don't understand the petty goings-on, for the lack of a better term, over contracts, $10,000 to a corporation that can't tell us where 30-something thousand dollars went or is or whatever. I just don't understand it. How can you guys sit up there and tell the citizenry of Irmo that you don't know who's on the board of the 501 that got the $250,000 whenever the heck it was and distributed it at will, is my understanding. How can you do that? I mean, I don't think any of you have a son called Hunter Biden. But anyway, I just think it's petty. You've got enough town staff. You've got a problem with a contract or the lack of information in the contract. Why don't you just tell your town staff to put it together the way it should be? Why should it be presented to you half-assed to start with? Makes no sense. And then we want to go on and on and on about painting lines on the roads. I mean, what's the big deal? Get your contract squared away and take care of business. I'm one of the people that called the mayor in regard to some of these streets and roads and traffic issues. I recall reading an article, Mr. Danielson, where you objected to a development close to where you live because of traffic issues. Well, I live just down the street from Woodrow, the railroad tracks, and St. Andrews. Go out there at about 4 o'clock some days and just see the traffic. People make a right turn, block the intersection. If you're going, because they want to go straight across or left. And if you want to go right, they got the right lane blocked. There's nobody in it. You're just sitting there waiting for all these yahoos. But anyway, we're looking at getting 60 new houses built directly adjacent to me. Only entrance and exit to that subdivision is on Palmetto Wood Parkway. In other words, the road that we live on, our whole neighborhood lives on. I'm going to make an assumption that by the time this subdivision gets built and gets built out, bought out, we're going to have school buses in and out, and they're going to stop 5 times at the railroad track. That'll really make traffic nice. I'll have to just do like I used to do and only leave home at certain times of the day in order to get out and somebody's gonna probably make an issue of me cutting behind the pharmacy building up there because I can't get through that intersection to get back to my house. But anyway, I guess my most flabbergasted I became was when you guys sat up there and couldn't tell people in this audience who's on the board of the 501 Corps. You were on the board with the 501 Corps. So you want me to believe that you haven't kept up with anything since then. I don't buy that. You know, I for one.
I want to just stop you there. I'm not sure why the mayor is letting you carry on, but we only allow for 3 minutes, which is the red light that you have in front of you.
Oh, okay.
And I did not. I kept wanting to find a spot to say,
didn't
"Pardon
realize
me."
that.
That's okay.
Well,
But and that's
I'm gonna
and
leave what I'll
You'll
quit.
yield to,
And
you'll
I'm
yield
gonna-
his time.
What I said, I'll leave for you to
and
think about.
I'd be happy to talk with you afterwards, and you can continue to talk to me.
Well, you know Joe died, so you ain't got him to talk to no more.
Anybody else would like to address council? And we have a 3-minute time frame. Give your name. Well, I know who you are, Mr. Boyd, but
Marion Boyd Senior, Earl Moore.
be nice.
Listen, y'all don't get along good, and you are supposed to. And all three of y'all against one man. It seems to me that there's some kind of prejudice going on in this council because y'all don't agree with nothing on any occasion except something you like. And that's not the way you run a town. You're supposed to agree on some things. Y'all seem like y'all don't know what each other's talking about until they come to a vote. Why y'all do that? Because there's a black man up there. He needs some help. Y'all don't give him no help. You need some help. You sound like you the council member. You sound like you the mayor. If you don't want me to tell you who you are, you sound like you the mayor. You overrule everything the mayor want to say sometimes, except for something that you like, and you ain't no better. And sometimes you get the same way. I'm very observant. But I'm going to tell y'all need to have a coalition of agreement on issues before you come to these people here. But we listen at all this stuff y'all saying, and it seems to be no coercion or no agreement or no understanding of what each other are thinking. When you come to a vote, one will say yes, the rest of you will say no. What's the problem? Y'all don't talk to each other during the day? Why not? Y'all don't work together? Why? I live in Irma, I want to have a better understanding of what y'all trying to do here, of what y'all trying to say. It's coming election time now. Who's going to be sitting up there the next election time? I can't vote for none of you. And I wouldn't vote for none of you if I had to, because y'all don't have no sense of coercion. Y'all talk afterwards. Y'all don't communicate. Because you seem to be against one another when you come to the meetings. We don't want to hear that. We want to see something that's happening in Irmo that's going to make all of us equal, on the same line. It's already disagreed, but on everything? Come on now. I'm retired age already. I talk to people. I'm a social worker. I talk to people. I want to see people get along. I don't care what color you are. Get along. God don't want us to be like this. I'm not no preacher, but I can. But I'm going to tell you, God don't want us acting like we don't know one another when we get in a meeting like this. Do we? And you sit up there, you act like you are in charge. Why? Is that what you want to be? You want to be the mayor? Do you support the mayor? On some issues, huh? We all don't agree on everything. We're not supposed to. You don't agree on everything with them, do you? You don't agree on everything, do you, Doctor? You're not supposed to. But we should have common sense enough to know before you get to the meeting. You got an agenda. Y'all put the agenda together, one person does the agenda. Is it a new thing when y'all first see it, that y'all don't know what's on the agenda? All these things y'all have on the agenda,
I'm so sorry. I don't.
Mr. Secretary,
You
let
ain't
me,
the mayor.
interrupt.
You
Mr.
not the
Secretary,
I just.
can I run the meeting, Mr. Secretary? Do you
Mayor's
mind?
supposed to tell me.
Do you mind if I run the meeting?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
The mayor's supposed to
Mr.
tell me
I
whether
mean,
my time is
Mr.
up. Not, you've been doing that
Mr.
all day
Boyd.
with everybody.
I'm trying to be as polite as I can.
When I'm being
Eric,
polite, too,
will you let me reading, please?
you all
Mr. Boyd,
stepping
thank
in
you
the
very
mayor's
much.
door to tell me that I have spoken too long.
Mr. Boyd, thank you for your comments. I was just waiting till you get your last thought out without the interruption of Councilman's signature. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Free sometime.
Okay, we agreed that, we agreed that. Any other person that would like to speak, please come up. And thank you so much for bearing with us through this long meeting.
I'm Wade Deloach, 156 Finsbury Road. There's some stuff on this A-tax thing that I don't agree with, but I don't want to make it political. I'd like to meet with Eric and Bill in private, talk one-on-one, and then maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from. I also like to say one other thing. I feel like the IFC was a good thing when y'all first got it. The idea was great, and when it was a loan, I was 100% behind you. Midstream somehow it turned into a grant. I also feel like it's become a divider of this town. Because since then, since Barry asked where the money was going, even if it was in private, you guys have split. You guys have gotten angry at each other, and it's been growing ever since. Not this year, but since that happened. And anybody that doesn't believe me, go back to YouTube and start following the videos. All of you are better than this. The town is better than this, and they deserve better.
Anybody else would like to speak? Again, thank y'all for coming to the meeting. Sorry it drug on so long. We do have a discussion item. Okay, you want to take it up at the workshop? Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, all right, well then the discussion item, we're gonna talk, Courtney, would you put that on the next workshop agenda? Discussion of AI, I was looking forward to that, actually. I didn't know what it was, but anyway, we'll put it on the workshop agenda, discussion of policies on AI and the use of the town council and staff for press releases and public documentation on the next agenda. There is no executive session. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Council meeting is now over. Thank you.